it's been the big hard for the New Orleans Saints these last few years. And that's because, well, you don't have Drew Brees anymore as your starting quarterback. You don't have Sean Payton as your head coach anymore. Now you have Dennis Allen as your head coach, and you have a revolving door of quarterbacks in your room. So it's been like, yeah, how are we going to solve this issue? And they haven't. So for the Saints these past 2 seasons, it's been a very slow downward spiral. 2021 saw them, they looked like they were going to have some success. But then midway through the season, Jameis Winston gets hurt, lost for the season with the torn ACL. And then they ended the season 9-8, but they barely missed out on the playoffs. And then you get to this past season in 2022, it's more of the same song and dance. They struggled with major injuries to a lot of its key players, and again with Jameis Winston. And then on top of all that, you get mediocre quarterback play that replaces Jameis Winston in the form of Andy Dalton. That's hence the reason why New Orleans wasn't outright terrible, but they weren't exactly great, because you know what you're getting with Andy Dalton. He's not going to provide you spectacular play, but he's also not going to provide you terrible play either. He's just going to be that mid guy. So even that wasn't enough for the Saints to claim the broken mess that was the NFC South, because, well, their own problems did them in. The injuries, the broken defense, the broken offense. The team was just broken as a whole. Even with all the people that were coming back towards the end of the season, it was just too late for them. They did win against Philadelphia, so that was like their one big win of the season. But it was just too late for them. They got eliminated after some tiebreakers, and they ended their season 7-10. So for New Orleans, you really had to figure out a lot of things. You were once again fighting against the salary cap, a lot of money in the red. But not only that, you really needed to find a quarterback, man, because it's clear that Jameis Winston, for as much potential as he's shown in New Orleans, like, he had that one good first half of the season in 2021, but he got hurt. He just might not be able to rely on him to stay healthy. So those were your 2 offseason priorities. You had to get under salary cap again. You had to restructure some contracts, and you had to find a quarterback, man. Like, you desperately need to find a quarterback. And boy, did they find one. I don't know if it's going to be a good one either. So the Raiders definitely helped out the New Orleans Saints when they released Derek Carr. Yeah, they released Derek Carr. They gave that car down to the Big Easy, which could be getting even big harder. So New Orleans, they signed Derek Carr when he got released, when free agency started. Oh, actually, they didn't even need to wait till free agency started because, well, he already got released. So Derek Carr signed a big fat contract to go to New Orleans, sign with the Saints, and now he's their quarterback for the next couple of years. A pretty interesting decision by New Orleans, but I mean, maybe he could provide some kind of upgrade. But yeah, keep in mind that his last season with the Raiders was not exactly that great. And we'll get into that in just a bit. So looking at some of their offseason moves for the Raiders, not for the Raiders. I keep saying the Raiders because, well, Derek Carr's there. For the Saints, they did lose a couple of key players because, well, they were in the red, like big in the red again. They lost one of their top edge rushers in Marcus Davenport to the Minnesota Vikings, but he did have a down year in 2022, but it's possible he could bounce back with his new team, Minnesota. They also lost one of their good interior pass rushers in David Onyemata to the Atlanta Falcons. Excuse me. Safety Justin Evans to the Philadelphia Eagles. And this could be a big one to them, guys. Andy Dalton to the Carolina Panthers. Oh, no. So, yeah, they let Andy Dalton go because, well, you have Derek Carr now. They did re-sign Jameis Winston. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to keep him on. And I don't think Jameis Winston minded that he stayed on. So, I guess that's something. And then, of course, you had the big move to get Derek Carr from the Las Vegas Raiders once he got released. And then a couple of interesting ones to note. Running back Jamal Williams for the Detroit Lions. They didn't give him like a big fat deal. But, I mean, I wonder how they're going to use him, considering that his second half in 2022 was basically him just vulturing touchdowns from DeAndre Swift. That's what he mainly became known for. Vulturing touchdowns from DeAndre Swift in the Lions' like big second half run in 2022. So it's like, okay. They did sign a safety by the name of Jonathan Abram from the Seattle Seahawks. So it could help Tyrann Mathieu some. So we'll see. Backup tight end Foster Moreau from the Las Vegas Raiders. So Derek Carr, one of Derek Carr's preferred target when Darren Waller was injured. So he comes from Vegas to the Saints with Derek Carr. And then receiver Byron Edwards from the Atlanta Falcons. And then looking at some of their draft moves, they drafted another interior defensive lineman by the name of Byron Breesy from Clemson. And when I looked at Breesy, he has some very good pass rushing tangibles. He can really get it within the interior. He really has some good hand fighting. I did look up though. He has some very glaring injury concerns. So New Orleans better be careful. They better keep him healthy. They also fortified their pass rush even more by signing Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame. They drafted him actually. So some decent moves within the pass rush. They also got a running back, Kendre Miller from TCU. So getting some more insurance just in case Alvin Kamara gets hurt. And then an offensive lineman by the name of Nick Saldiveri from Old Dominion. So yeah, that was a solid move by the New Orleans Saints to get some protection up front for Derek Carr, because that offensive line was not good in last year. So now with all these moves considered, obviously you got a quarterback that could hopefully help you out. I don't know. But obviously your goal if you're New Orleans, now that you had acquired all these people, is to win the division, win the NFC South in 2023. That's your goal. But the thing is, what I took away from this offseason for New Orleans is that, is it going to be enough? Even with all these additions, all these solid additions, is it going to be enough for the Saints to really make a run at the division come regular season time? Because keep in mind, last year they made the big defensive move to go and get Tyrann Mathieu, but they didn't really do much in the grand scheme of things, because honestly, when you look at it, since 2021, the Saints just run into some really bad luck, like especially on the injury bug. And it was the same case in 2022. It's just like they have to find a way to get past that injury luck, like the bad luck, because these new ads, like I don't think it's going to be enough. And again, I don't want anyone to get injured, but it's just like they got to find a way to stay healthy, man. They really do. This time could be different, but who knows? Who knows? But I will say the defense does look a little bit more solidified than the last few years, because, well, they did add some more interior defensive linemen and depth at the edge rusher position to help out Cameron Jordan. Like, dude, the dude need help, man. He just lost like some key players, like what was his name? Marcus Davenport and David Onyemata in free agency. Cam Jordan definitely needed some help there. So yeah, good on New Orleans to at least get him some help. Now, looking at some of their key potential games in 2023, if they're going to try to compete for the NFC South, is starting in week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. How is Derek Carr going to do in his first game at home as a New Orleans Saint? It's always going to be the big test. See how he does. And then week 2, you're on the road in your first division game at Carolina against the Panthers. Whoever's going to be starting at quarterback, who knows? And then week 4, another division game at home against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Is it going to be Kyle Trask? Either way, you don't want to underestimate either of your division opponents, not including the Bucks. And then way down in week 12 in Atlanta against the Falcons. A big test awaits in this very weak-ass division. Let's see how Desmond Ridder and those Dirty Birds are by that point. Who knows? They could be competing for that division crown too. So with all that being said, my biggest question is going to be around the quarterback position. Is Derek Carr really the answer for this Saints team? It may be an upgrade over Andy Dalton and maybe even Jameis Winston and even Taysom Hill. But when you looked at his play last year and even the play before 2021, it went down. It went down after his good 2021 and even his good 2016. So something was just not right with Derek Carr in 2022. I don't know if his failure to adapt to Josh McDaniels or, well, there's something definitely wrong with him. But he just could not connect with Devontae Adams. He could not connect with Hunter Renfrow the same way that he could in 2021 in that back half crazy run with Versace as the interim coach. So the other thing is that he was shut down in those final 2 games as the Raiders tried to keep him healthy for a potential offseason trade, and he was mad about that. I was like, you're not in like a position to like compete for a playoff spot or anything. So it's like, what was the difference, man? And now there's these conflicting reports that either the Raiders actually did bench him and Derek Carr abandoned them. So it's like, damn, dude, like what's really going on here? But that's besides the point. It's like, is Derek Carr going to show the toughness, like these tangible skills, like the toughness, leadership, that's going to be just as important as his playing skills in 2022? Because looking at his playing skills, he defers to the check down a lot. He really does. Sure, there'll be times where he gets aggressive, throws the deep ball, but most of the time, he just prefers like middle of the field, check down, and all that. And he also doesn't come in clutch very often, especially during nut busting time. So it is fair to wonder if this latest gamble by New Orleans is going to pay off. Keep in mind, they did sign him to a big fat contract. So, for the Saints, they did make some solid moves to help out its aging players. And of course, you had that big Derek Carr move during the offseason. I just don't think it's going to be enough to escape mediocrity. Again, I might be proven wrong. And then keep in mind, this is the second time that Derek Carr is going to be playing under Dennis Allen. His first head coach when he came into the league. And, that didn't exactly go well 9 years ago. Who knows if it's going to be any different this time around. But for the team as a whole, I don't think it's going to be that much different in 2023. I imagine they get the exact same record at 7-10, maybe 8-9 if I'm generous. But anyway, I don't see New Orleans and that team make things. I don't think it's going to get any easier in 2023. Might even get even harder for them with Derek Carr as their new quarterback.